everybody, welcome back to Stringman Guitars. We're down here in the underground lair. If you happen to like what you see, please go to YouTube. Well, you're already at YouTube. Just hit the like and the subscribe and the bell, and I love you a long time. What do we have today? We have a Angelico New York Premier DAP D500V, and from what I understand, it's got a cedar top. It's got a bound neck, not really any fretwear. There's still plastic on the pick guard. It's got heavier strings than it would he like. He wants to go super light, 1047 elixirs. There was a repair done. If you can see that, get it in the picture, right up here. It's like it was just a ding and somebody filled it in with some sort of something. But we're not worried about that. It is in need of a battery. Scarf joint, plastic still on the back of the tuning machines. We've got the strap button there. The access for your batteries back here, where it should be. But let's see. Actually, let me change the battery so that I can get a decent reading on the tuner. We'll bring this up to pitch and see where it is so we can see where we're gonna ultimately end up. Okay, well, the existing battery was wrapped in a piece of paper towel. I'm not sure why, but it was like that. I put the new one in. It doesn't rattle around. Does it make contact? Evidently it does. Okay, tuner works. Battery light is no longer on. Throw that away. Actually, it's a good practice to tape off your contacts on your 9-volt. Let me see if I can figure out this jigsaw puzzle. There. Go that way, lift up and out. There we are. And looks like a 4. Looks like ain't nobody been in there. Make sure that truss rod works before we go any further. Taking some of the tension off the strings. Okay, truss rod works. Anyhow, I'm going to take the strings off, make the neck flat, put the elixirs on, and then we'll go to set it up from there. Alright, so before I'm going to start polishing the frets and everything, we made the fingerboard straight so that we're ready for our light gauge strings. But whenever I took the strings off, Mr. Nut just fell right out. And it's a bone nut, which is cool. And in my previous video, I had just gotten some new tight bond. I'm glad I did, because I didn't have any before. So we're going to take broken off matchstick. And we're going to put some tight bond where the nut goes. Both where it goes here and some up against the wood. Not a lot. So that way the next person in here doesn't get screwed over. You never want to use super glue when you're gluing a nut in. Never, ever, ever. Don't ever put in so much that you're going to be gooning up the truss rod access. So we're going to put it in place, and tight bond is water soluble. So this little bit that squeezed out, we can very simply, while we're holding it in place, making sure that everything else stays in place. Okay, so we got it in place. And we're just going to put some extra tension on it. And let that set up while I do all the fret polishing and so forth. So fret protectors is what we need next. Yeah, this guitar has been played, but it's not been played enough to really mess up the frets on it. There's a little bit of munch starting, but man, it's got a long ways to go. This micro mesh will take that right off, see? I guess you can't see because my finger's in the way. We're going to use the micro mesh all the way down. And then this is a 1800. And then I've got a 2200 and a 3300 in here. And it'll be nice and shiny when we're done. While we're waiting for the glue to set up, I decided that I'm going to clean up just a little bit of the sharp fret ends here. They're not hanging over this way, but whenever you're in here, you can feel them at the bottom of your, pads of your finger. So it's like they made them shorter than the binding, but they didn't bother to make them smooth at that point. Didn't do that one. I started down here and started working my way up, and then for some reason went up to the top. Oh, I know why. Anyhow. Always double off the tape because you don't want any accidents. That's much better. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So, get me some, there we go, fret eraser. Go ahead and take away those file marks that I just made. Yeah. Might as well just hit this side here because I know that they really don't do that at the factory. Makes it much nicer. So one of the other things I do on all the guitars that comes through here, these bushings, which are 10 millimeter, just make sure they're snug is all. Temperature changes and vibrations, these things tend to loosen just a little bit. These are all, with the exception of the A string, snug. So that's good to go. And those frets are beautiful, man. So we're going to oil this up. We'll also take this time to rub in some F1 oil. This does kind of look thirsty, so it'll be a good thing. Started using gloves because it allows me to get a better feel and get the oil right up to the fret. We take some paper towel and we wipe off the excess. Pretty straightforward, huh? And that really makes the shiny frets stand out. Okay, we got new strings on. We have a relief of $12 right at the 7th fret. On the other hand, we have a string height of 10/64 and 9/64. So we're going to have to trim the saddle down some. So bear with me as we do that. See how high the saddle is? I don't know if you can see that or not. There we go. Anyhow, that's got to come down some. And I put probably 3 more wraps on each post than what I needed, because I knew that bridge was going to have to come down some, but I wanted to do it with this gauge of string. I can always tighten it up when I'm done. It's better to tighten it up than to have to take string off and chance breaking a string. Okay, boys and girls, you've seen this trick before. Rubber surgical hose, pull it tight and tie it off. Get some help from a capo. Pull the strings back. And we pull the saddle out. Good evening, everybody. So, a bit of a warning when you're trying to get your action down on a Angelico New York, made in China. I can't talk. Dreadnought. We tried to get down to 6/64 at the 17th, and we got the E down to a little over 6/64, and the low E just a hair over 6/64. I don't think it's a 30-second above that. But one thing that when you're trying to bring your string action down on these guitars, these saddles or not saddles, but the bridge is so thick, and it's designed in a way. There's a ridge here. I don't know if you can see it. Let me just unplug that. There's a ridge. Yeah, I think you can see it there. There's this angle here, and then there's a ridge right here that goes up behind the saddle, and the pins are an 1/8 inch lower, so the string has to come up over that ridge, and on the high E and low E and the B, it doesn't clear that ridge if you get the string height to where I have it. Now I was trying to get to 6/64 with the original bone nut. We got the I happen to have a tusk nut laying around, so we put the tusk nut in, and we've got a break angle. Even though we're touching the back of the bridge here, you bring that in. Even though we're touching the bridge with the string because of their design, and I'm still above 6/64 here on this high E. Same way on the low E, I'm at almost 7/64. But the guitar is way more playable than what it was. I mean, we were at 10/64. Is that where we were? But anyhow, when I tried to get the bone nut down, I wasn't taking into account this ridge here. I mean, that's a bad design, and I had no break angle here at all. I got down to my string height, but there was no, this string would break so often right at the bridge because there's not enough break angle on this bridge or this saddle to keep the string from sawing back and forth on the saddle. The more you played it, the more it would saw back and forth, and it would eventually break, probably pretty quickly. So we have the string height set. I told you it's a little over 6/64 here. Probably closer to 7, and it's at 6. This one is probably a little less than 7. I've got the neck straight, the relief is right. The only thing I've yet to do is to check the string height at the first fret, and that's actually good. They're all good. Before, when the string height was way up, it wasn't good, but now that we brought that down, this is right. Okay, boys and girls, so Angelico, whatever. Premier Dreadnought. I forgot the actual name of it. There's a name that goes with it. What do? We went to way light gauge strings from 13 down to 10s. We had to glue the nut back in. It was in there with something that didn't hold it. As soon as I took the old strings off, it just fell out. We had to lower the string height at the first fret just a little bit, not much. Figured while I'm in there, I'm going to just put some of the guitar grease in. You can see that in the dark. Polished the frets, oiled the fingerboard. Tightened the truss rod because it was really loose. It was barely connected, and there with the existing strings, there was a ton of relief, and then when I put the light ones on, there was still relief. Now we've got 12 thousandths of relief at the 7th fret. Like I said, polished fret, cleaned and oiled the fingerboard, and we replaced the factory saddle with a tusk saddle. And you see how there's very little break there because of this edge I was telling you about earlier. They really want you to be up around 8/64 of relief, which is just too much. Or not relief, but string height. We're at just over 6/64, and there's barely a break angle here. And you can see here there's barely a break angle, but it's good across here. And this is a 14-inch radius. So new tusk nut. Got it all cleaned up, shiny. This here, I don't know if he's going to take it to somebody who does finish work to get that polished out, but you know, it's an acoustic guitar, it's going to get banged up. Anyhow, really pretty guitar. I really dig the headstock. Oh, and we also cleaned up the really sharp fret ends down here too. So now there's no ouchies. So there you go. So I want to thank you for joining us here in the underground lair for another acoustic moment. Thank you for viewing, and if you live in the greater Pittsburgh area, all you have to do is send me an instant message on Facebook, Stringman Guitars. Since you already know what channel you're watching, if you'd like to hit the like, subscribe, and bell notification, I'd love you a long time. Love you guys. Thank you for all you do. Take care of yourself. Take care of your neighbor. Peace.